Hey everybody, it's Michael at Gotcha Rocks, and today I'm going to show you how to cab a piece of lace agate. Alright, so the first step for cabbing out a stone is to actually put it on a dop stick, which we already did in a previous video, so I'll put a link, I think it'll be up here, for that video. And I've done that already, which are right here, so that the dopping just means that you put them on a stick or a dowel rod using wax. So this is one of the ones that I did previously, and it turned out really nice. So we're going to do another right here. So a little bit rougher looking, but trust me, it'll look awesome. So today we're going to use the Cab King, and this is a 6-inch Cab King, and it has an automatic water feed from the bottom. So if you haven't checked one of these out, please do. You can check them out at gotcharocks.com. I do sell them. Self-promotion. So we're going to start with an 80 grit wheel, and we're going to work all the way through the 6 wheels all the way up to a 3000, and hopefully when we're done we'll have a beautiful looking stone. I'm pretty sure we will. So we have our Cab King. We're going to start it with 80 grit. I have my water feed on right here, which is just on this switch down here, and here we go. So the first process is going to be going around this outside, and I'll show you what we do after I do it. All right, here we go. Okay, I have you come in here nice and tight. Now you'll see that I put this kind of like a 30-degree angle that goes all the way around here. And so the way I like to do it is just do a first cut all the way around, and I just keep cutting this one rim right here back, and I'm trying to hit this center. So I'm just slowly taking off piece by piece, but I'm rolling it like so, like this against the machine, as opposed to starting out like this, okay? So I'm gonna do a couple more cuts right around this outside edge, and I think you'll see how this turns out where it actually starts to look like a cabochon. Okay. All right, let's take another look at it. So here we are. I did that first cut, now I did another secondary cut, and you'll see how I'm going closer to the center. I'm gonna just roll that so it kind of rolls over and you can see. And I'm just gonna continue to do that until it hits the center. And I'm trying to leave about 3 millimeters right down here. I like to have at least 2. So if you need to take a little more off, that's fine. I just don't like to take everything right down to that edge, because then you'll lose the actual size of the stone. It'll just make it smaller than what you're intending. So I do this last little part. All right, so here we are. I'm starting to smooth this out, and we're getting pretty close to the center. What I'm going to do at this point, now that I have the general shape that I want, I'm going to actually bring it in here and start going like this. And that's going to round it, okay? So that's our next step. Here we go. Okay, we're getting a little bit rounder. I see a couple little inconsistencies here, so I'm just going to work on them. Alright, so as you can see, this is starting to look a little more like a cabochon. Now, one thing I want to point out is when I'm rolling this over the wheel, I'm making sure that I go all the way over. So the one thing that usually happens, and this is what screws most people up, is that they don't go all the way over the top, and what they'll have is these like kind of deep grit, like little pits and stuff like that right in here where it just won't polish up. So you'll go through all your wheels, you'll get right to the high polish, and all of a sudden there's a big scratch in it. So as long as you keep going across the top, you shouldn't have that. So I'm going to keep working on this. I think I'm going to move to the 220 wheel now. Okay, so I've worked on this a little bit and it's really starting to smooth out. So that 220 will really kind of remove all these really heavy lines that were in it. The next one we're going to do is the 280 grit. And this particular wheel, these two were diamond wheels, okay? These two that I have right here, these are diamond wheels. This one is like a synthetic sapphire grit or something like that, and this is actually on a wheel that has a little bit of cushion on it, so when you push on it, it gives a little bit, and what that'll do is really help us to round everything. So if you're like cutting on these first two and you're like, boy, it just doesn't look right, it looks like I'm kind of screwing things up, I just encourage you not to go too far with it. Just get the general shape and then work on your 280 grit. And that should really smooth things out. I think you'll be very surprised. So that's what I'm going to work on right now, okay? Tip, you want to move back and forth across your wheel so you don't wear it out. I have a tendency to work in the center, but you really want to move back and forth so you have kind of a consistent grit across here. That's really smoothing everything out. I always like to just do a little check here and just kind of eyeball it and make sure that nothing's really majorly off. And this actually looks pretty good to me. So our next wheel is going to be a 600. And what's really great about the Cab King is you don't have to change out wheels. Some of the other machines I've had, you have to change out the wheel every time you want to switch a grit. So this is great. We're just going to move over to the next wheel. Always make sure you use lots of water. Don't ever run these wheels without water. Notice that I'm working around the stone, so I'm kind of like, think about this as a clock. So think of this as 12 o'clock and you're working all the way around back to 12 o'clock. So 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. You're just going to work all the way around and you're just drawing it once again back over the center, like so, until you get all the way back to 12 o'clock. So here we go. Okay, it's starting to shine up a bit. Now one thing I like to do when I'm at the 600 is actually just run around this edge here. We'll fill out the girdle. and just smooth this out so there aren't any little sharp edges from the original grinding on that 280 or on the 80 grit. So I'm just going to go like this. There we go. So I just smoothed it out a little bit, and the reason I do it at the 600 is because if I did it at the 280 or the 220 or something like that, I would remove too much material, and I just want to remove it just so it's enough that it's smooth and it'll look good in the setting. So I'm going to keep going with the 600 a little bit more just to make sure that I hit the center well enough, and then we'll move over to the 1200. All right, I just wanted to show you something. So this is kind of what I was talking about. If you don't roll over the stone enough and remove enough of the material, if you look right in this area, you'll notice that there's a few little pits. Like I can kind of feel them right there. And some of this is just natural to the stone, but this is kind of some of the blemishes that you might get if you didn't remove some of the grit. So I just wanted to show you, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump back over to that 280 wheel, and I'm going to see if I can cut this out and grind it down just a little bit more, and then I'll jump back over to the 600 wheel and kind of semi-polish it, okay? So that's the plan. So I went ahead and jumped over to the 280 wheel and ground it down a little bit. It does look like this is a natural in the stone, so it's not a a problem that I had with the wheel or anything like that. There are a couple little divots here. In a different video, I'm going to show you how to fill those in if these really bother you. Some natural stones are just going to have pits, and if we tried to grind them out, we could just grind the whole stone away and not have anything. So sometimes it's this kind of like balance between, do I want to remove the pit and possibly ruin the stone, or do I want to just kind of live with kind of the character of the stone and work around it? So we're just going to keep going with this one because I think it's going to look awesome regardless. So here we go. We're going to move to the 1200 wheel now. So I just want to point out, when I'm doing this, I'm applying a lot of pressure when I pull up like this, but when I drop it back down, I'm doing very light pressure. So it kind of looks like I'm rolling back and forth like this, but what I'm really doing is pulling up like this. I'm just doing it in a quick manner and letting the wheel take it back down. So just wanted to point that out. You don't want to do this full blast. You just want to kind of pull up, that's your pressure, and you're pulling down. There you go. Oh, there's some nice pinks popping out right here that I didn't see before, so that's going to look really nice. So this is what I was talking about. You can grind away too much of the stone and you'd miss all this stuff here. So we're going to keep going. Once again, I'm rolling over the top. Look at that, it's polishing up. You can still see those little divots, but I'm not too concerned about them. So I'm going to work the top just a little bit more because that's usually where everybody misses. And sometimes you can just kind of hold this, especially at the 1200, it's not going to remove a lot of material. And that'll just polish it up a little bit more. So it'll just bring up the luster. You want to make sure that you keep rotating the stone a little bit. Alright, so that's looking pretty nice. And you can still see the naturals, but that's alright. Okay, so we're going to work through the 300 wheel. You know, one thing I think I'm going to do, you know, I was going to move to the 3000 wheel. I'm going to run around this edge once again, just like we did with the 600, just to give it a little shine. Okay, here we are at the 3000 grit wheel, and this is almost like a piece of paper if you were to feel it. See, it's not taking my finger off yet. So we're just gonna do the same thing that we've been doing on these other wheels, and this will bring up a really nice luster. At this 3000 grit part, you could almost stop there. I would highly recommend doing a final polish, but just for this example, we're gonna stop here and go from there. All right, here we go. There we are. So we can put a final polish on that. This is our polishing pot pad, and we're going to put cerium oxide on this. And this pad actually attaches onto the side here. So I'm going to show you how this all kind of breaks down. That's what's really nice about this machine, is that you don't have to do a lot of switching out of things. So this is the polishing pad. It's just kind of like a felt pad, and then we have cerium oxide, which I will show you here. I got this one from Rio Grande. You can buy this in bulk on Amazon. I'll see if I can find a link. So here's how this works. On the machine, you just take this little water feed, turn it up, and then this little plate just pops right out. Okay, and just set this back here. Or if you have a drawer, that'll be better to put it in the drawer. All right, we're going to stop the wheel here. And this has a little screw here, and it just screws in. Just make sure you don't force it. Now when you get these machines, they have this wheel here, and they have a plastic backing, so they're a little bit wobbly, but you can make it work. They do have an aluminum one that you can upgrade to. So be sure to ask me about that if you're ordering one. We can get you one of those. So what I do is I just kind of wet the wheel a little bit like this and put it on here. You know, one thing you could do, I'm just going to back up a little bit since that's what we do here. We're going to spray it like this, and I'm just going to take a little cerium oxide. Believe it or not, that's a lot of cerium oxide. And we're going to just kind of mix it around like so. Okay? We're looking for sort of a toothpaste consistency. Now we'll put it back on. Just makes it a little bit easier. Now when I first turn this on, it's going to shoot this stuff all over the place. So just make sure you're not in the way. Here we go. Same way, for polishing, we're going to pull up. The wheel goes this way. You can kind of see it as a little bit wobbly, you know. And we want to keep this just a little bit wet, not too crazy. And I like to start a little bit in the center and then move out to about midway. So this is what's going to happen. You can kind of see it looks all kind of chalky. You see how I'm doing nice long strokes with this? During the polishing process, you notice we used water with everything else. With this, we want to actually create a little bit of heat, especially with jaspers and agates, and that will bring up the shine. I mean, if I just kind of go like that and show you, you can see it. Now it's getting a little bit dry, so I'm just going to put a little more water, and I usually just put it right here in the center. That smooths things out a little bit. And you can rock it back and forth. It's not probably going to hurt anything. You always want to keep the stone rotating, just in case there's a little crack or scratch or something like that. You don't want it to pull the line all the way across your stone. And if you feel like this is grabbing it too much, just move back into the center and it'll be fine. So add a little more water. You can rock it back and forth this way. Just make sure you hit everything. Definitely the top. Okay, so let's wipe this off and look at that. Beautiful, right? So we'll clean this really well. And if you have any, those are the little spots right there that you know, just naturals in the stone. So they'll fill up with this cerium oxide, but you can just scrub it with a toothbrush and they'll come right out. So I see a couple little spots here I want to hit a little bit more. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. Alright, so the next step will be actually pulling this off the dop stick. So stay tuned for that video. Here's the final piece, so I think it turned out great. It's just absolutely beautiful, I think. And I might go back and polish a little bit more just on some of these edges. Once you clean it, you'll really be able to see. But for the most part, I think this looks absolutely awesome. I can't wait to put it in something. So in another video, I'll show you how to remove your stone from the dop stick, which is a whole nother animal. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and leave me a like. If you have any comments, let me know. What kind of stones are you cutting? What kind of machines are you using? What would you like to see me cut? I've got some dinosaur bone on the table. I've got some synthetic opal and things like that. So I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of different types of jaspers and different types of stones. So each one has its own little character. So we just want to take care of that. All right. So I'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.